In the heart of Missouri, where the rivers run free, St. Charles County calls, it's the place to be. From the mighty...
Welcome back to a very, very special episode of St. Charles Patriot Radio. You're also going to hear this as the second half of Stand and Fight, which is going to be later tonight, but you're hearing it first, the blending of two shows into one. So if this show gets a little bit different, loses a little bit of focus on just St. Charles County, it's because we're doing a blending of the shows to kick off the new year. The Missouri legislative session is now back in order, I guess you could say. 2026 is upon us, and the Missouri legislature gavelled in this week to start things off. We've got a pretty good show. Like I said, we're going to get a little outside of our comfort zone in St. Charles County and start talking about some other things that may impact our county, such as the issues happening in Minnesota, whether it's the fraud or the protests or the response to law enforcement coming in, trying to do their jobs pursuant to an election. Donald J. Trump saying, I want to clear out the illegal immigrants. And that was one of the biggest prongs of his election, which he won the national popular vote and the electoral college. Well, welcome back to SR1 Sundays. I am Nick Schroer. Richard West is out on assignment this week. I think he's filing bills. I think he's filing more bills for us. And we're going to be talking to Richard next week and some other special guests up near the Capitol. But like I said, this is the start of the 2026 legislative session. And let me just kind of bring you up to speed. For those that don't know, for those that may not be aware, with each new legislative session, the bills that kind of made it close to the finish line but didn't get to the governor's desk, they're dead. And you got to start from scratch. All of the momentum on certain topics, on certain issues, if it did not become law last year, or if it was vetoed, everything goes back to square one. So on Wednesday, the start of the Missouri legislative session occurred, and there was a lot of rumors. There were a lot of rumor mill topics that were floating around the Capitol and in the streets. There were a lot of events that happened the night before session started. And the Missouri Senate, we typically do a dinner where all of the senators, Republican and Democrat, we get together and had a dinner. Well, some of the Democrats weren't there. And a lot of the news media failed to report on something that happened just a few weeks ago. There were rumors that there was going to be an uprising of Democrats in response to how last year the Republicans asserted their supermajority, and they got a lot of things done. Republicans, including myself, got a lot of things done. The crime bill, initiative petition reform, the 7-1 map, the fix to Amendment 3, you name it. A lot of stuff got done. And there was a caucus that they had. The Democrats had their official caucus. And the rumors at that time, just a couple weeks ago, was that there was going to be an ouster of the minority leader. We saw it all in the local political stuff. Missouri Scout and some of the others, Missouri Times. They were discussing these rumors that Stephen Weber, Democrat from Boone County, would become the new minority leader, taking out Senator Doug Beck, a Democrat from St. Louis County. So those rumors, I've kind of talked to different individuals, other politicians, lobbyists, special interests, employees in the Capitol. All of them verified, yeah, we hear these rumors as well, and we believe it's going to happen. So I think the Democrats needed a vote of 6 people, 6 of their Democrats, to make that change, to effectively make that change. Well, again, they go into caucus. They come out of caucus saying, well, we got a gridlock. And talking to some of the Democrats who were there, they've indicated that there was a flop, that one person who tried to orchestrate this takeover and change of guard within the Missouri Democrat Party in the Senate, that person flipped. So we'll see. I don't know if that's true. I'm just reporting to you what I hear. So that's something that the news media has not been focusing on. They keep discussing that there's going to be a lot of chaos, that the start of session always brings chaos, and last session ended in chaos. Well, let's look at the Democrat Party. Is there chaos there? That was the question that I had gaveling in on Wednesday, and it seemed everything went as normal. Start of session happened, introduction of certain people who were there. The bill started getting introduced onto the calendar. And again, you got to start from square one. So if you file a bill, remember that old Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes a law? Yeah, well, you got to file it. And a lot of these bills were pre-filed. And the Missouri Senate And I wish Richard was here because we could differentiate. In the Missouri Senate, you are advised, you don't have to, but you're advised to pre-file bills in December. And the reason that is the case is in the Missouri Senate, first come, first serve in so many respects. You get to file 3 bills and it goes to the next senator based upon seniority. So the senators that are terming out, let's say Senator Sandy Crawford, she's been here. She's going to term out after this session. She's been here 8 years. Her and some of the other senators get to file first. And then it comes down to yours truly. We each get to file 3 bills. You don't have to. You don't have to file. You could file 1 bill, then it goes to the next person. So all of those bills get referred in order that they were filed. So if you don't pre-file, chances are it's going to take quite a bit of time to get your bill referred to committee. In the Missouri House, it's not that way. In the Missouri House, you can pre-file if you want. You could pre-file 50 bills in December in the Missouri House. And if you don't have a relationship or you're not working your bills, you might not ever get those bills referred. If you do have a relationship with the Speaker of the House and leadership, or if they like your bill, then you could legitimately wait until March, wait until February, sessions well occurring. Many bills have been filed before you, and you decide, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to work with the leadership, and I'm going to tell them, I've got this sneaky bill, I've got this controversial bill. For whatever reason, I didn't want to pre-file it to give the opposition extra time to build a case against it. And they can refer it that day. Well, after it's been read into the journal 2 times. So that's what happened this week. All of the bills that have already been pre-filed have been read into the journal on Wednesday and on Thursday. Then on Thursday, that's when bill referral happened in the Senate. And to tell you right now, I'm going to have to look. I don't know how many bills my committee got in the Judiciary Committee, but it sounded like a lot. It sounded like we've got bills that are going to deal with issues that are very relevant to the people of St. Charles County. I believe my bill on juvenile reform likely got referred to Judiciary. If not, then it went to Public Safety. In Public Safety in that committee, the chairman is Travis Fitzwater, Senator Travis Fitzwater, who lives in the Fulton area, but it stretches all the way into Wentzville. So he was very key in helping me get past the big police bill, the big crime and public safety bill just last year. So going into next week, we got to reevaluate all these bills that each committee has. If you're not a committee chair, you don't have to do this. But if you're a committee chair, you go through all the bills that have been referred to your committee. You can decide if you want a hearing or maybe you don't want a hearing. But we are absolutely going to have some hearings next week. And I'm going to go over some of these bills that have been referred to my committee, the Judiciary Committee in the Missouri Senate. Myself, many of our colleagues sit on that committee, including our other colleague from St. Charles County, Adam Schnelting. So these are some of the people we might be having on the show next week. We might do something crazy and have little mini interviews or a roundtable interview. And if you're listening to the show, I want to break some news to you. You can also watch the show now. Yes, that's right. Here on St. Charles Patriot Radio, you can watch the show, and we're going to change it up. We've got new technology I've been telling you about, or at least I told you about it on Stand and Fight. If you missed any of those shows, Stand and Fight or St. Charles Patriot Radio, don't hesitate to go where your podcasts are found on Spotify, iTunes, any of these things. I know there's a lot of websites out there, but we are now going to be shooting live video, sending it to you, putting it on reels so it's easier to follow what's happening not only in the Missouri Capitol, but what's happening back in St. Charles County while myself and Richard West are in Missouri State Capitol. So something that is also going to kick off the week next week. It usually happens later in session when you look at other governors and when they have done this. But the state of the state is going to happen. It's a speech by the governor. They get to come in like you see a president do with the State of the Union. But this is going to be the state of the state. What are the big plans from the governor? What are the wins and the losses? And what do you want to talk about and inform not only the legislature, but you're informing the people of Missouri of your plan? Well, one of these big plans, you've seen it if you've been watching college football. You've seen these commercials if you've been watching Mizzou basketball. It's the plan of Governor Kehoe's to phase out income tax. Yes, that's right. Getting rid of income tax altogether is what the governor ran on, but we didn't get it done last year. There were several bills, including mine, myself, Senator Ben Brown, Representative Bishop Davidson, I think Representative Ben Keithley, and many other members of the Freedom Caucus. We all had versions of phasing out the income tax. My bill this year will phase it out. My bill this year is different than a lot of the other bills that you're saying because it doesn't replace the revenue. A lot of the people out there who have been asking questions about getting rid of the income tax, getting rid of personal property tax, they always go to the question of how are we going to replace the revenue? How are we going to replace the money once we give it back to the people? And again, whether it's personal property tax, real property tax, any of this stuff, income tax, I will tell you, and I'm not shy about it, I think it's theft. I think it's unconstitutional. This probably isn't the first time you've heard me say this, whether it was on the House floor when I was in the Missouri House, the Senate floor, on this show, or on my other show. And we got some other news. There's going to be another show coming out. Stay tuned. We'll give you all that information. It's not going to impact this show that is focusing on God's country, St. Charles County. But I believe taxation is theft. If we're moving to a consumption tax, I'm more open to that. But my bill would phase out the income tax, brings it down from 4.75, roughly, 4.75%, 4.7%, where we're at now. And there are triggers based in our law currently. But there's a floor. There's a floor, and I think it's 4 or 5. Once that hits that floor, it doesn't matter how many triggers happen, it's not going any lower. So essentially, this bill of mine would get rid of that floor and would allow the more money that comes in when we're hitting those triggers to bring the income tax down. We're doing it faster, and it's going to happen within the next 6 to 10 years, going immediately to 4%, where we're competing with the other states that are nearby us. As of right now, collectively, when you look at the tax in the state of Missouri, we are one of the highest tax states. Real property tax, personal property tax, sales tax, all of the different types of taxes that you make on the money that you bring in, the money you invest, the money that you spend, we are taxed enough. So this would be dependent upon getting rid of the income tax and allowing these triggers with the revenue that the state is going to bring in. And a lot of folks out there that are questioning, well, how do you know we're going to bring in more revenue? Well, look at all of the other states that have gotten rid of the income tax and then compare it to that U-Haul report that recently came out. The U-Haul report that comes out every single year discussing who's moving where, what are the states that people are moving to, what are the states people are moving away from. And I believe these 7 out of 10, I could be wrong, 7 out of the top 10 were no income tax states. I think 3 out of the top 5 might have been the no income tax states as well. So people are moving to where they are not taxed like they are in the state of Missouri. Missouri actually moved back one rating in this U-Haul report. So we're going to go over a little bit more of what we expect to hear at the state of the state. We're going to go over some of these bills that have been referred to my committee. And guess what? We're doing it in real time because I don't even know. I heard some of the bills. I heard the name of my committee, but I don't know yet. We're going to find out in real time what bills have been referred to the committee, Republican bills, Democrat bills, and we'll discuss them. Initial thoughts you're going to get here live on air on not only St. Charles Patriot Radio, but the second half of Stand and Fight as well. Come back because we got plenty more here on St. Charles Patriot Radio and Stand and Fight on SR1 Sundays. News Talk STL. Be right back.
Hey, Jeffco, this is Jim Avery from Avery Injury Law. We're personal injury attorneys that specialize in car wrecks, dog bites, semi-truck crashes, or really anything that happens that's not your fault that results in an injury. At Avery Injury Law, you can trust us to help you when you have to fight with the insurance companies. Don't battle them alone. Choose your friend, Jim Avery from Avery Injury Law. I'm not afraid of insurance companies. Let me fight them for you. Contact us at 314-549-5600 or averyinjurylaw.com.
Welcome back to the second segment here if you're listening to St. Charles Patriot Radio, and the fifth segment if you're listening to Stand and Fight. Like I told you, we're going to do this in real time. We're going to senate.mo.gov. We're going to figure out what bills that got referred to the Committee on Judiciary, and a lot of bills, if we have time, we can go over that were relevant to St. Charles County. So just catch you up. We are in the first week, just finished first week of the Missouri legislative session. Bills are getting referred, and we'll look at the Missouri House as well to see what bills got referred. But here in the Missouri Senate, we're off to a good start. We were told by all the media, we were told by the Democrats that they were going to start session with filibuster and stopping things. But is it the dysfunction within their party? Is it the disagreements within their party that this did not happen this week? Or are they realizing, it's time to actually work for the people of Missouri and not try to score more political points? So we're pulling it up right now. Go to senate.mo.gov. You can go to a couple different tabs. You can go to legislation. You can do searches on bills that are important to you. But I'm going to committees. I'm going to hit the little tab here that says committees, and I can go to Judiciary and Civil and Criminal Jurisprudence. The Committee on Judiciary and Civil and Criminal Jurisprudence covers a lot of stuff. Covers things happening in the courts, like criminal law. It could deal with public safety. It could deal with civil law as well, which there are a lot of things that go into that. And it also deals with family law. So with me being the chairman, my colleague, and he's an attorney as well, Senator David Gregory from St. Louis County. We've got Senator Ben Brown from Franklin. We've got Senator Jamie Berger. And then the Democrats that are on there are Senator Carla May, Senator Steve Roberts. And like I said before, we have our colleague, good friend of mine. He's from the 23rd. He replaced Senator Bill Eigel when he termed out. I replaced Senator, now Congressman Bob Onder, but we've got Senator Schnelting on the committee as well. So we're going there on senate.mo.gov. You guys can do this in real time as well. Go to assigned bills. And yes, we did get a lot. Let's do it in real time. What do we have here? First bill that was referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Civil and Criminal Jurisprudence is a Democrat bill, but it's okay. It's okay. This bill deals with expungements. This bill was by Senator Brian Williams, Senate Bill 854, relating to automatic expungements. This is the clean slate legislation. If you know what I'm talking about, it's been around for a while. I initially filed this when I was in the Missouri House on my own. I created something that said, hey, if you haven't committed a crime, if you've had like low-level, non-violent offenses, and you go a certain amount of time without reoffending, if you go a certain amount of time without doing anything bad, then we're going to give you a pass, and that thing is going to go it's going to go off your record, but if you reoffend, it could still be used in a sentencing aspect. Senator Brian Williams has a version of that. I don't know what version this looks like, but I am fully aware he has been fighting for this, and several Republicans have even tried to get this passed as well, the clean slate legislation. So if you're wondering why is this so important? Well, you look at a lot of scholarship opportunities, military opportunities, job opportunities. If they go on CaseNet in the state of Missouri, we've got a very robust database of court systems, whether it's the associate courts, the civil, or the, what am I thinking here? The circuit courts, the circuit courts, associate circuit, or even municipal courts. You can find out any criminal issues, any civil issues for a very long time. So that's going to be one I think several members have filed. But that was the first bill that got referred to our committee. The second bill that got referred to our committee is Senate Bill 882 by Senator Curtis Trent out in the Springfield area. He's got a bill, it says here, it modifies provisions relating to criminal offenses, including minimum prison terms and conditional release. So the cool thing about this, if you're looking at real time, and I don't know if I could zoom into this, you go on to the actual bill and it'll give a breakdown. It says Senate Bill 882. It modifies the definition of dangerous felony to include statutory rape in the first degree, statutory sodomy in the first degree, regardless of the age of the victim. Additionally, the act includes the following offenses in the definition of dangerous felony: abuse through forced labor when death results when there is an attempt to kill, trafficking for slavery, involuntary servitude, a lot of other stuff. So this looks like a bill that we're going to hear because it seems to be common sense on its face. So that's, in my opinion, I try to, even if I'm not fully sure on a bill, I at least want to give it a hearing to figure out what's going on. The third bill that got referred is a really good one. It's a great bill, Senate Bill 888, which is modifying provisions relating to juvenile justice systems. This is a bill I've been working on for a couple years, and we went from having a couple entities support it, police supporting it. Now we've got some prosecutors supporting it. Law enforcement groups are now coming out, working with the governor to address an issue that I know you've heard about. In St. Charles County, we had a special criminal interdiction task force created somewhat in light of what was going on in St. Louis City and St. Louis County with the juvenile crimes, but crime altogether that was spreading after COVID. All of the different municipalities, the jurisdictions, the cities within St. Charles County got together. Chief DiGiuseppe, been working with him on this for a while. The Criminal Interdiction Task Force came together and was stopping crime, but they did see a catch and release aspect of juvenile crime in St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and that has actually been happening in other cities and counties across America. Well, not only across America, but across Missouri. So back when the Ferguson uprisings happened, the Mike Brown stuff happened. A lot of the cities tried to react. Well, the Supreme Court redid a guide on when to keep a juvenile in juvenile detention, when to keep them locked up, and when to give them back to their parents. Well, certain counties and certain cities, and St. Charles County has done a fairly well job of keeping the riffraff off the street, keeping the violent criminals, the violent youth off the streets, and getting them the resources that our juvenile courts and our juvenile system offers them. And for those kind of new to the juvenile world, the state of Missouri, the way that we offer children services and give them kind of a second chance or the ability to pull their life back together before they go down the wrong path, that's been emulated by many other states. That's been emulated by many other areas of the law across America because it, for the most part, works. And if you have a kid who is violent, who continues to reoffend, they can be certified as an adult. So back to this bill, this grading system in St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and other areas, it's being implemented in, I think, the wrong fashion. If a kid commits, let's say, 10 crimes in one night, some of the juvenile officers are only looking at one of the crimes, the most violent one, and then they're sending them back out on the streets. Well, what does that do to a kid? What does that do to a kid who's breaking the law, breaking the rules, if you're not punishing them whatsoever? You process them with the paperwork, the record is sealed, you send them back to mom and dad. Sometimes mom's not there, sometimes dad's not there, sometimes neither of the parents are there, and sometimes even if the parents are there, they don't give a damn. And they're back to reoffending the next day, and they're back to reoffending in surrounding counties. That's what we've heard from law enforcement. That's what we've heard from prosecutors. And that's why Senate Bill 888 is so important. It provides guidance to blanket the entire state and not just leave all of these people up to their own devices and their own interpretation of this grading system. So I think that is going to be a very key piece of legislation, and I'm biased because it's mine. I filed it. The next bill that we have, Senate Bill 893, that got referred to Judiciary and the Civil and Criminal Jurisprudence Committee. This bill modifies provisions relating to criminal offenses, including classification of offenses, minimum prison terms. This sounds a lot like, no, this is 894, I'm sorry. This sounds a lot like Senator Trent's 882. 893 creates and modifies provisions relating to sexual offenses. So let's click on that one. Dive a little bit deeper into this bill. It says the offense of grooming. The act establishes Sophie's Law, which provides for the offense of grooming of a minor. A person commits the offense when he or she is 18 years of age or older and engages in a pattern of conduct. Such term is defined in the act with at least one overtly sexual act directed towards a person who is less than 18 years of age, that to a reasonable person would infer the intent to prepare, condition, or manipulate such person for sexual conduct, sexual exploitation, or sexual trafficking. The offense shall not apply to certain persons detailed within the act. So that one, that seems very interesting, and it seems like something we're absolutely going to hear. Don't know if it'll be next week or thereafter. Senate Bill 904 by David Gregory is the next one, creating provisions relating to cannabis. And this is one that's very important. This is one that I filed for the past couple of years, and with my slate getting kind of overloaded with a lot of different bills relating to Sharia law and so many other things, which actually got referred to this committee as well. Senate Bill 977, establishing the no Sharia law, and we'll dive deeper into that soon. But let me go back to the cannabis bill. Senate Bill 904, this is relating to what you're seeing in grocery stores, what you're seeing in liquor stores, what you're seeing in head shops, what you can buy online even as a minor. If you're a child, you can go into a store and buy something that looks like Sour Patch Kids or other non-lethal candy, and it's laced with something that was created from hemp. And if you know the hemp plant, you could take a whole bushel of it, roll it up and smoke it, and you're probably going to be throwing up before you have any sort of high. So the plant in and of itself, it's actually a good plant. You can make rope, you can make fabric, you can make papers, you can make all sorts of things with hemp. You can make different lotions and all sorts of products that are non-intoxicating. But the Farm Bill a couple years ago, which allowed for the legalization of industrial hemp, was written so poorly that it opened up an avenue and allowed the scientists and different people to extract a little tiny amount of THC that was in the hemp plant, strip that, bathe it off of there, chemically get it out of the plant. Then they take that THC and they put it into a new product, the candies, the drinks. And now you're seeing some of these guys that are doing it, some of these people who are doing it are getting that hemp oil from China. From China. They're getting it from China and bringing it here. You have other people that are doing it the right way. And they're making sure that these chemicals are not left over in the final product, but some of these actors are bad. And you look at the testing that's been done on their final product, and there is none. Or they're paying somebody to say, yeah, it's safe. So the bill that I've had the past couple of years would treat this exactly like marijuana products. If it's an intoxicating THC product, it should be treated just as marijuana, which the people have voted on. It's got to be safe, out of the hands of kids. Kids can't buy it. It's got to have all of these different solvents and chemicals taken out of there. So you're not ingesting that type of a product. And the labeling requirements, it can't be geared at kids, and it can't mimic or have like cartoons or something, but it has to have the actual percentage of the THC that's in it. The potency has to match the actual product rather than just a guess. So this bill is now, I would say, probably more important than it was previously, because the feds finally closed that loophole. They said you got a year if you want to actually have some sort of market for this thing or not. So this is going to be a very important bill. I'm not too sure if we're going to hear it. I think we will probably hear this one, but I'm not too sure how intense the hearings are going to be, because they've been pretty intense in the past. The next bill, 927, regulates the sale of kratom in the state of Missouri. That's by a Democrat, Senator Nuremberg. Democrat Senator Lewis, 928, modifies provisions relating to criminal offenses, including 48-hour holds, assaults, domestic violence, stalking, and violations of no-contact orders. Senate Bill 945 by Carla May allows the Circuit Court of the City of St. Louis to collect a civil case filing fee in the amount not to exceed $20, rather than $15 for certain uses, including the maintenance of a law library. And the last one I'm going to tell you about before we hit a quick break is Senator Rick Bratton, 949, creating the offense of judicial malfeasance. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about so much more when we come back from the break here on the second segment of St. Charles Patriot Radio. Very special show, because this is also the second half of Stand and Fight. We'll be back, SR1 Sundays, News Talk STL, after this commercial break.
Tim Jones here, former Missouri House Speaker and now Chief Cat Herder for the Missouri Freedom Caucus. You know, when we're taking on the rhino establishment swamp in Jefferson City, we always know that our gavels are bigger than theirs, but sometimes it calls for even greater firepower.
Yeah, America!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a deal. What a deal do I have for you? Just sit back and relax, because this is a unique opportunity. We are ending the show, third and final segment here on St. Charles Patriot Radio. Sixth and final segment that we have on Stand and Fight. So, like I said, we're going to blend a couple shows here together. We've got the St. Charles Patriot Radio focusing on things that are happening in America, or in Missouri, rather. Stand and Fight, on the other hand, we can get into the weeds and start talking about other things that are happening. I want to direct your attention briefly to what is happening in Minnesota. I'm going to play a clip for you. This is the governor who's not going to run for governor anymore, Tim Walz, talking about, make sure the audio is good to go, talking about his response to a shooting of a protester who was in the street trying to stop ICE. And just listen first.
We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks.
Yeah, how asinine is that? You have a lot of fraud going on in your state right now. And for those listening that are saying, well, it's alleged fraud. No, it's actually fraud that's been prosecuted. Dating back to 2014, 2015, there is fraud that has been prosecuted in the state of Minnesota. And he is even alleged to now, I think he's been referred for investigation or something. We'll look into that as well. We'll report. If you go back to Stand and Fight next week, we'll report on it. But now he's saying, in light of a protest, there was a protest against ICE coming in. Immigration and Customs Enforcement came in to do exactly what the people of the United States voted Donald Trump in for. I guess one of the biggest issues was immigration reform, public safety. The officer that shot this 37-year-old woman, he was just recently dragged behind a car when he was trying to arrest a pedophile illegal immigrant. just weeks before. And this lady who refused, well, number one, she was getting in front of ICE, getting in front of law enforcement, and she was stopping them from continuing on their mission of law enforcement. When two ICE officers got out, told her to stop, told her to get out of the car, one of the officers was in front of her large SUV, and instead of complying with law enforcement, instead of abiding by the law, she puts her foot on the gas, turned her car into a weapon, and hit the ICE officer. And now you have Tim Walz saying, well, we're going to weaponize the National Guard and send them after the federal government. This is just becoming a dumpster fire for political points. When the people of America voted in the National Popular Vote for him, the Electoral College for Donald Trump, and one of his biggest issues, if not the biggest, was straightening out the immigration issue. Straightening out illegal immigration, focusing first on the most violent and heinous. And you have these Democrats around America that just a couple of years ago, their spokespeople in Schumer, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, even Obama, a deporter-in-chief, Barack Obama, the Democrats at one point were agreeing with many Republicans when it came to illegal immigration. The safety issues, taking jobs from Americans, and now they're saying, well, nobody else is going to go wash these dishes. Nobody else is going to go take out my trash. So how is that not racist? But let's go back to the stupidity of trying to fight law enforcement. We've seen that in the state of Missouri. We've seen that in St. Louis City, in Kansas City, and many other areas where this defund the police mantra was hurting communities, increasing crime. And now since Donald Trump has taken office, now since Governor Mike Kehoe took office and worked with the Missouri Freedom Caucus in getting our big crime bill done last year, a lot still needs to be done. But we're trying to turn over all of the public safety issues in the city of St. Louis, and it's working. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to get to where we need to be, but we're already seeing the crime stats coming in. Whether it was National Guard helping straighten out some of these cities or getting the illegal immigrants back to their home country of origin, these actions are producing numbers, bringing violent crime down across America. And I think it's having a deterrent effect as well. I know it's having a deterrent effect. That's what our criminal justice system partially is for. Yes, for rehabilitation, for punishment, but also to deter future actors, to deter bad actors from deciding to break the law. If you know by breaking the law, if you know by doing some violent crime, you're going to be prosecuted, and they've got their act together, the prosecutor will come after your ass and throw you behind bars, and then you're going to have to be punished, rehabilitated. You're probably not going to, you might think twice about it, and more than likely won't do it. So these are the types of issues. Public safety issues are my bread and butter. My degree is in criminology and criminal justice. My passion is making Missouri safe again. Making Missouri safe again leads to making Missouri affordable again, leads to making Missouri prosperous again. And one of the counties that have been really good at that is St. Charles County. And that's why we're here with St. Charles Patriot Radio and Stand and Fight. It's blending two shows into one, first time ever. But back to we left off with Senate Bill 949, creating the offense of judicial malfeasance. It says this act creates the offense of judicial malfeasance, which means a person commits it if, while performing the duties of a judge, releases an individual who is a prior or persistent offender during the pendency of a criminal trial. And such individual commits a crime, commits a felony during their release. So that was Senator Bratton's bill, and that sounds like a good one. It sounds like one we're absolutely going to hear. Senate Bill 969, talking about the St. Charles County connections. Senator Fitzwater, who represents a section of St. Charles County in Wentzville and in Forestell, has a bill modifying provisions relating to public safety. This bill says sexual offenders within school properties, rights of victims within that crime are all addressed in that bill. Then we go to 977, like I was talking before. This guy named Senator Schroer has a bill establishing the No Sharia Law Act, which basically in a nutshell says this: you can practice whatever religion you want. You can be whatever individual you want, but you cannot break the law and get a free pass by saying it's my religion. You can't go out and beat your wife or your spouse or your kids and say, well, pursuant to my religion, give me a pass. You can't go out and have 15 wives and then say, it's my religion, I get a pass. So in a nutshell, that's what that bill does. It ensures that no judicial branch, no municipal branch is going to give someone a free pass when they break the law if they're doing whatever religion, whatever act pursuant to their religious code. To me, it's easy peasy. The Constitution, the law, supersedes all. So another bill that we have is 981 from Senator Coleman, modifying the Crime Victims Compensation Fund. Senate Bill 982 from Senator Coleman relating to sex offender registries. Senate Bill 996 from Senator David Gregory relating to workers' compensation. Senate Bill 997 modifies the offense of murder by Senator David Gregory in the second degree to include when a person delivers or distributes fentanyl to another person where the death results from such use. That looks exactly like the bill that I had last year. It's crazy how that happens, how you'd have exact same language that gets floated. There's a million reasons why that could be. Senate Bill 1008 allows the Attorney General to appoint commissioned and non-commissioned investigators. Then we move to, and that was Senator Jamie Berger in southern Missouri. Senate Bill 1011 by Senator Joe Nicola provides that certain international organizations shall have no jurisdiction in the state and creates the No Sharia Law Act regarding enforcement of certain foreign laws in the state of Missouri. Another good one, and I think I'll probably hear at the same time when I hear my bill dealing with the same issues. And in those instances, we'll probably hear both of them, combine them together, and that's where, you've got two great ideas. Somebody will be the lead on that, and then we'll move that forward as those bills come together. Two other bills that got referred. We have Senate Bill 1013 by Senator Nierenberg, a Democrat from the Kansas City side, modifying provisions relating to child custody. And then we have Senate Bill 1015, creating provisions for involuntary outpatient treatment. So let me back up here because with a couple minutes that we have left, I want to look at another committee that I was referring to earlier, which is the Committee on Public Safety. That's the committee where our big crime bill last year came out of. That's the committee chaired by the other senator, or one of the other senators for St. Charles County, Travis Fitzwater. So again, going to senate.mo.gov, you can do this on the House side as well, where you can go not only find bills, you can find the committees that they're in. And if there's a bill that you like, there are ways to tag on here to get updates on the progress. But I would recommend anybody who's out there, use your phones, use your computers, go to senate.mo.gov, go to house.mo.gov, and find out what is happening to bills that are important to you. Whether you like the bills, whether you hate the bills, whether you want to kill the bills, whether your bill's not moving and you want it maybe to be amended onto something else. These are all things I wish and I hope the listeners to Patriot Radio and Stand and Fight will do. Because an educated populace is what is essential to taking the power back, changing the status quo, taking the power back like our founders intended. And that's going to have a government that's more efficient for you rather than special interest groups. So we got a couple minutes left. Went to senate.mo.gov, going on to the committees section, and you can find emergent issues. That's a committee. It's a good one. Fiscal oversight, government efficiency, insurance and banking, local government, progress development. But where in the world? Here it is: transportation, infrastructure, and public safety. Like I said before, the members, we've got myself, Senator Schnelting, Senator Fitzwater. All three of the senators that represent God's country here on St. Charles Patriot Radio are on this committee. So the first bill it has is Senate Bill 845 by Senator Lincoln Huff, establishing a tax credit for certain police initiatives. Senate Bill 858 by Senator Rick Bratton, relating to additional protections for your Second Amendment. Senate Bill 868 by a Democrat, Steve Roberts, creates the offense of unlawful possession of a firearm by a minor. Senate Bill 876 by Democrat in St. Louis County, Mosley, enacting provisions relating to the Department of Transportation's fiber network. 908 by Senator Hudson modifies provisions relating to firearms. This committee, as you can tell, if you're a Second Amendment enthusiast, this is where all of these gun bills continue to go and will be heard. They will be heard, mark my words. Go down to Stephen Weber, 922, Democrat from Boone County, creates the offense of unlawful possession of a firearm by a minor. Justin Brown, senator from the 16th, he's got a bill allowing vehicles to exceed weight limits up to 10% in certain circumstances. Senator May, in 944, modifies the salary for the attorney of the sheriff of the city of St. Louis. Well, that's going to be a doozy. Because if you haven't been paying attention to news media in St. Louis, you wouldn't have heard about all of the chaos happening in St. Louis City in regard to the sheriff. We go down the list. There's more gun bills, railroad crossing bills, motorcycle bills, and so much more. But a lot of, I would say the vast majority of the bills that were referred in order, are the bills relating to firearms. So again, go back, educate yourself, spend the weekend, go into next week and start looking at some of these bills. And if there's something that's not moving, if there's a bill out there that you see in a committee that's been referred either on the House side or the Senate side, house.mo.gov, senate.mo.gov, and you wanted to get it moving, contact your legislator, contact the chairperson of that committee, and I'll be talking to you next week, hopefully with some more information on these bills I've been talking about on St. Charles Patriot Radio. Stand and fight. God bless you all, and have a good night.